Well, it's been quite a while, but it's time for another AI War 2 patch update. It's been almost 3 weeks now since the last major patch release. We are on version 1011. 1010 came out a while ago, but didn't have that much in it, so I didn't bother doing a separate video for that. There's a wide variety of things in 1011 entitled SuperCat Swats Back, which I think is a reference to the fact that there were some things added for high difficulty AIs. There's a lot more in it than that. As always, the full listing and everything, link to that, going to be down in the description. I'm just going to cover the things which I find to be the most significant. It's going to be quite a few of them regardless of that. So 1010 did a couple things. One was to reduce the Spire archive hacking time, since hacking time for some things escalates based on difficulty. On level 10, that could last an hour, and so the base time for the Spire archive has been knocked down by a third. And then they also reorganized the metal flow here. Let me unpause here so we can see that. Alright, so it's basically just more readable now. You can see all of the, the metal income, what everything's spending stuff on, and it was list each thing individually. It's moved them together and just basically made it a lot easier to read so you can analyze your economic situation quite a bit better. Okay, so moving on to the more recent patch 1011, one of the things it changed was group move. Now previously that would mean that if you had a bunch of ships on one side of the planet, set them to group move and moved them to the other side, that they would all move at the speed of the slowest ship in the group. But now, if there are faster ships like further away than some of the slower ships, it'll let them speed up with the goal of having everything arrive at the destination at the same time. So they basically just made group move a little bit more intelligent. The intel menu got a bit of an overhaul, including moving the beginner tips up near the top right below the prime objectives, which is a good idea overall, I would definitely say. Makes it easier to access the beginner stuff, and of course, you can always just remove those if you don't want to see them, like so. There's a new setting. I'll show you where this is a little bit further on, but you can prevent your engineers from repairing allied ships. That's for if you have friendly factions such as the human resistance pathing through and you want your engineers to focus on your own ships instead. You can prevent them from doing that or add it in. The wonderful instigators. The game is now going to try harder. It'll still place them in unexplored territory if it has to, but it's going to try harder to put them in an explored system wherever possible. There have been some complaining about that whole mechanic on Steam, and they're trying to make it a little bit more friendly without going overboard. I'm kind of ambivalent on that. I can sort of see that issue both ways. And people in general want more defenses to show up on the galactic map. Now, there's so many different types of things that they're a little hesitant to make it overcrowded, but they did add eyes to the situation. So we see we got plasma eye here, ion eyes here. Stuff like black hole machines, orbital mass drivers, etc., they're going to keep from showing up on there simply because it's possible to have so many of those structures depending on your settings in a particular map that it would get ridiculously cluttered putting them all on there. There have been some bug reports related to zenith power generators and matter converters producing remains, even though permadeath is supposed to be on for them. So if you have those settings on, they will be properly killed and removed for the duration of the game. Alarm posts had not been working properly either. They had not been triggering guards on the nearby planets. They're now doing what they're supposed to in that regard. And they had some corrections to some of the map types were not generating the proper way. So they think they're all working now the way that they're supposed to at this point. And one of the higher difficulty things that got added in is just the number of defenses. The AI homeworlds in particular will automatically have a higher minimum amount of guard posts. I think it was boosted from 3 to 5. And then the general budget for reinforcements and overall income of the higher level AIs has been boosted. People are continuing to have success on level 10, but they're continuing to generally escalate the resistance to try to match. That'll be very much a long-term thing, as we've previously mentioned. The new tech type, the turret hull. So we've now got that along with the light, medium, and heavy. And so this will boost all of the turret type hulls. It gives you another option for upgrading them as a late game thing. It also means that it is possible to eventually get turret types as high as Mark 7 along with the ships. Previously they could not been improved past Mark 5 because they only had the weapon type available to them. And they did some definite ship rebalancing. The first step in making the fusion bombers not as strong as they used to be, done in the fact that most ships now, if they didn't already, have higher hull strength than they do shields. And since the fusion bombers bypass shields, they were not only good against structures, but there were too many ship types that they were also good against, so that's been sort of tweaked about. And the advanced research stations have been changed as well, not in their basic functionality, but previously, and we're not going to see it in this game, it would only be really showing up on newly generated ones, but there were some ship types that were not showing up at all, and also the general mix of how likely a particular ship is to show up was changed as well, and that should have some impact on equalizing the various tech weapon fields. The fusion stuff in particular, probably not going to show up quite as much, and some of the lesser used lines will probably show up more, so they're working on trying to balance that out so the different tech lines are more valuable, more viable. Wormhole invasions. Fair amount of discussion with one of the veteran players on Discord recently, and basically what they've done is they've nerfed those some. They were considered to be unfair to a significant stretch, and that's not entirely incorrect either. In general, the attack strength on the wormhole invasions has been reduced, and also there's more of a warning time so that you have the opportunity to react to when and where it's coming. So we'll see how that all plays out, whether they feel the need to make any more tweaks. And then finally, there is a major data center adjustment, and this is one of those that I'm really not a fan of. Now, the major data centers will now generate exo strike forces if you capture them. You can see that in the tooltip. And just as a general rule, I do not like the idea of adding exo strike forces to things that reduce AI progress. It just seems to be sort of contrary to the point, and I'm really not sure why. I've suggested changing it, and we'll see if that goes anywhere. But I'm not sure why they didn't use the method that they were talking about using, and that was used in Classic, which is having, data centers, major data centers, the coprocessors, things of that nature, just reduce AI progress less on the higher difficulties. Because this is expressly a balance change that they've put in place to try and counteract the fact that they think there's a little bit too much AI progress reduction available in the game. You could also just put less minor data centers in the game by default, or any number of other things. And just to my mind, that's a far more elegant solution, just reducing the amount of AIP reduction based on the higher difficulties level, than having the exo strike forces. Because what I think is going to tend to happen is that either the exo force is going to be strong enough to dissuade you from taking the major data centers, in which case you're never going to capture them to begin with, because you can't get rid of them once you've captured them. You're sort of stuck with them due to how much AI progress will rise if they're destroyed. Or if the exo strike force isn't strong enough, then what's going to happen in that case is that the player is effectively going to ignore the penalty, and essentially you're just going to be penalized for reducing AI progress. As I say, I'm hoping that gets adjusted, but it is what it is for now, and they do have an option related to it. If we take a look at our stuff here, here's the repairing allied units option. That's new, and that can be turned on and off. And under balance, major data centers causing exostrike forces, that can be turned on or off as well. As you can see, again, it's only on difficulty 7 or higher. So I like, 90% plus of the changes in this one. I'm just not a big fan of what they did with the major data centers, but it is what it is, and we'll see how things go going forward. So that's 1011, SuperCat Swats back. Officially, we're still in the post-release polish part of the development cycle, and I will be back with more notes on whatever happens in the future. Thanks for watching, everybody.